It's what you do with your teeth, it's where you put your tongue. It's the shape of your lips, let's make it fun. Phonic All Star. Put your tongue. Phonic All Star. Phonic All Star. Shape your lips. Let's shake our hips. Phonic All Star.
More than ABC.
Phonic All Star.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Module 2 Phonic All Star Fun. This video I'm going to be teaching you how to do the activity that is outlined on your record sheet, which is called the Phoneme-to-Grapheme conversion, which really means sound to letter conversion, because children need to be able to not only know the speech sound, being for Vonnie vacuum cleaner, for example, but they also need to know how to name the letter. Now that's easy when it's one letter, but when we get up to our vowels, that can be a little more tricky, because that's actually two letters. Like Ursula Earlybird makes the sound because she forgets her words, but her letter pattern is ER. Now this skill is vital in spelling, because when children have to spell a word, and especially a word that they don't know yet, what they've got to do is, first of all, they've got to be able to hear within that blob of a word. Say the word is snip. They've got to be able to hear in that blob of a word all the sounds. So they've got to know where those sounds start and end. And without knowing the actual 46 sounds, that can be really challenging for the kids. And that's why learning the sounds and the sound grid is absolutely so important to start with. So to be able to spell, children need to be able to hear those individual sounds where they start and end. So and they need to be able to learn the skill of segmenting, to actually cut those sounds up and to be able to hold those sounds in their auditory memory, ready to do this next skill. Because this is the skill of phoneme-to-grapheme conversion. So what they're doing is, as they're suspending these sounds up in their conceptual memory, as they're suspending them up there, then what they do is they have to convert that down to a letter. So they go S, N, I, P, and that's then what they use to spell. So this exercise, what it does is it speeds up this and gains accuracy with this skill, so that then they can plonk that skill back into those steps and stages that are required to do that. Just what we see is just quite a simple task of spelling, but for children who are just learning their skills, is really quite tricky. And by just taking that skill out, strengthening it up, gaining the accuracy, increasing the speed, what it's going to do is start to support the child with their working memory and give them a lot more functions in their mind to be able to then focus on the accuracy, focus on how they're actually forming the letters, etc., etc. So let me show you how this activity is undertaken. Again, I like to time it, so have your iPod, pad, phone, Galaxy, whatever, have it close by so that we can keep a record of how long the activity took, because that processing speed does actually get faster and faster as children improve. I like to write the date so I know when it occurred. Now when they make an error in the activity, I like to separate the cards. So I'll put, say, the ones that they get right over on one side, and then if they make a mistake, I'll put it on the other side. That enables me at the end to be able to count the cards that are in error, and then to collate those errors in the boxes provided. Very, very important that we know what those errors are, because they're the ones that we target. Because when there's so much to do with children with learning and therapy, we want to be able to work on what they don't know, not practice what they do know, because that's just wasting their time. So this is how the activity goes. You put the cards underneath the table and you say the sound. So you'd say, okay, what is the letter for V? And then they say V. What's the letter for B? S. M. Z. N. G, G. Now some children, they're going to get to that sound and they're going to say J. Or they'll get to the J and they'll say G. When it comes to this one, it's only G. G only makes G. But when it comes to Joker Jack, some children are going to say G and they're going to say J. Either of those answers are correct, but always encourage them to say both, or at least say the letter J. Okay, so we want to say J, J. N-G. Sh, S-H. Now on this card you'll also notice there's Zha shocking, making Z-H. Zha shocking sound is a tricky one. ZH is very rarely the grapheme that's used, other than really in the word Zha. So usually what occurs is that sound is usually represented by the letter S, such as television, Asia. So what I tend to do with this card is just accept SH. C, but I then also ask them for K. So they've got to say C and K. P, D, D, T, O, L, R, Qu. Now this one, the time machine, I always make them come up with Q and U. It's usually the one children don't know. X, X. Some will say KS, but we're looking for X. F, Y, Y. Now this one always is a bit tricky, because what kids do is they mix up that because it starts with a Y, they think the sound is W rather than Y. So I always cue them with yee-ha, yowie. Y, y, yee-ha! And that helps to break that habit. 20 years of therapy, you see the same thing every day. And that is one of the sounds that always kids will mix up. Okay, TH. Now you could say being the voiced one, or you could say being the voiced one, or being the voiceless one. So let me try that again. So Theo Thong, he's the voiceless sound, such as in words like think, thigh, thistle. When Dana, that's his twin sister, she is the voiced thong, such as in words like that, them, and those. H, ch, CH, W, W. Okay, so that's the cards. Now what you do is fill out the section that says consonants. So I got them all correct. So I would have 0, all right, and I wouldn't have written anything in those spaces. However, if I had made some mistakes, and say for example I had NG and QU, then I would write those in the boxes. And then what I do is I then go get a piece of, to my desk here, a word worm or a word sound piece here, and then I write that letter so I know they're the ones I need to practice, and that's what the kids have taken home this week. You probably have noticed that. Okay, now then once that's done, I do the vowel cards exactly the same. Now this isn't as easy because with the vowel cards the children are having to remember sometimes two letter patterns, and sometimes they have to remember and learn three letter patterns. Now I cue them, just as we go through this, I remind them that Aya is really, really simple because it's saying its letters. I, R in Aya, okay, and then it's got a silent E on the end. The same with you are, it's saying you are for Pure Lewis card. Also with some of them, such as O, I just stretch them and make them learn OW at the same time as O. U, I get them to learn OO at the same time as U. A, I get them to learn A, Y at the same time as learning long vowel A. Okay, so that's the same. You time that, you collect your errors, you put your errors onto your word worm, and then make sure these word worm pieces get stapled together and they go on the wall. We're going to be using these also with your sight words and any words that you're learning that they need to remember. The reason why I create a word worm is because the brain needs to see words sometimes 100 times to actually load them into the back of the brain using the photographic center of the brain. And children with learning problems can sometimes need 300 times to actually learn their sight words. We're doing just at the moment just the actual letter patterns, and there's going to be a training video later for kids who can't actually store in even those letters, because some children can't do that. However, with the word worms, what I want you to be mindful of is they don't work unless they're on the wall. So I nag the kids and I say word worms don't work unless they're on the wall. They don't work on the car floor and they don't work in the drawer. So word worms don't work unless they're on the wall. And the reason for that is because you've got to burn them in to the visual cortex for it to actually create an image. And then that's how they're then retrieving that image later. Cool? Okay? I'll see you for your next video. Thank you. Bye.
It's what you do with your teeth, it's when you put your tongue. It's the shape of your lips, let's make it fun. Phonic All Star.
Put your tongue